This week on the Movie Stuff Show, we talk about Ben Affleck's latest feelings about Justice League, a new Terminator movie, our year through movies, and then we'll discuss a 1983 nuclear war movie called WarGames. Stay tuned.
I list them in order of what's worse, you know. Yeah. At the very bottom is the worst you could do.
That I agree. That's the worst game you can play is the movies and stuff. Retro review.
Yes.
You only win by not playing, right?
There you go.
Simple. The four of us, we're losing right now. the singles of people or dozens of people that watch our show, they're losing right now too. Welcome once again to the Movie Stuff Show. My name is Dan. Joining me, my co-hosts Abe and Marty.
What's going on?
Good evening.
And our great guest host, Amanda.
Well, she got upgraded to guest host?
Yeah, wow.
What have I referred to her
title
before? Is this the first time I've referred to her as a guest host? She is our guest host.
Technically, I guess guest host would be if one of us weren't here and she was in our place.
God willing.
Hang on.
God willing.
Look. I've heard enough semantic arguments for this week. I don't need to get into the technicalities of what. Just colloquially, I understand you mean I'm here with you guys. So.
As our guest.
Yes.
Hosting.
Yes.
There's 4 squares on the screen.
It just makes it sound like you guys
equal.
expect me to do work. So.
We don't do any work. Why should you?
Guest host has a little more pressure than just guest.
Well, as guest host, I recommend we move on to the first topic.
Boom! I like that.
All right. Topic 1. Ben Affleck recently described Justice League as an interesting product of 2 directors. There's
some breaking news on this one, actually. Casey Affleck was on Boston Sports Radio today and said that he thinks his brother's done with Batman. So.
Whoa.
In other news, Casey Affleck assaults women.
So there you go.
So these are all things that have been said and done. So Casey Affleck says Ben Affleck's done with Batman. Ben Affleck says that he's not. Yeah, he's excited with the DC universe. Honestly, after these remarks from Ben, before I even heard Casey's comments, I was going to ask, this is going to be my question, literally, what are the odds this movie ends up not being a total mess? Amanda. What do you think?
I don't know. I think at this point, maybe expectations have hit rock bottom. And I mean, I went into Wonder Woman and I just wanted a beginning, middle, end. I wanted the costume and the song, and I wanted the bad guys to lose. So we may be at a point where as long as we get all of that in the movie, it'll feel like it's working because it's not, it's not going to be laboring under a philosophical thing. Sorry, my words are failing me as host. What do you think, Marty?
I think very well. Nice segue.
Great hosting.
I think it could be a mess and still be fun. I think, and I think that's what they're kind of setting us up for. The trailers we've seen so far are kind of just throwing shit at a wall type stuff, and I think the BVS suffered under the weight of the pressure of being Batman vs Superman. This is just, hey, this is gonna be Justice League, we're kicking ass, and we're just gonna, have fun shit on the screen. And I think that if we're going in thinking that, I think we'll have a good time watching it. There was some other stuff this week, about what's being changed. Mm-hmm. They're saying, Whedon is doing a lot more than just some reshoots at this point. There's some quotes that went out there, anonymous, of course, that the Snyder's version was unwatchable.
Not surprised.
And that Whedon had to redo the ending. There's rumor that he took out the whole dark side possibility ending, and it won't be a cliffhanger. He changed all of what's the other guy? Cyborg's character. He almost changed it completely. But again, man, these are all just rumors, of course. But that's what, it's every day something new is coming out with this stuff. But again, I think if they're setting us up for, hey, could be a shit show, just come and watch it and have fun, I think people will enjoy it.
Batman v Superman was a mess, and it was a great mess. Suicide Squad was a mess, and it was a terrible mess. So that's pretty much what we're working with. Abe, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this at all. I mean, it's not like Warner Brothers. It's the vision of 2 directors and how many studio execs is my question. I mean, good God, Warner Brothers is such a fucking mess. I mean, just you can see all the cooks in the broth in Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman too. So I have no expectations that this is going to be good at all. And it's Joss too. So
here's the Affleck quote: "This is a really nice time to work in DC." I don't know if you meant DC Comics or in Washington. They're hitting their stride. They're getting it right. It's starting to feel like it's really working.
I'm happy to be here and hope I can help out the ball club.
Basically.
That's exactly what that was.
I mean, I guess he got some flack from the last press junket where he looked like the sad Fleck,
Got some.
So maybe he's trying to put on the happy face and be the good soldier here.
I mean, what does Casey have to say about any of this, though? What the hell? I mean, why the hell is he talking about it?
I mean, he's
literally
just probably
trying to be relevant
on a Boston sports station, sucking off Tom Brady, and they asked him about this, and he's like, "Oh yeah, probably won't." It wasn't like an obligatory. I know he's not doing it. He's just like, I don't think he's doing it. So, but I mean, again, there's no plan for Batman anyway. Matt Reeves is attached now, but there's still no date for it. There's no plot for it. So I mean, they could say we're doing a Batman movie that's 20 years earlier, so then it wouldn't make sense for Affleck.
In the chat, Robert Mayo is asking 2 directors what could go wrong. It's the same reason that we have the popes, right?
Yeah, a little office for you. Huh?
There you go.
Yeah.
Two directors worked well for Han Solo until it didn't. So
yeah. Now they're on 3 directors, right?
Now they're on their 3rd one, technically.
Oh, they are? They fired somebody else?
No, Lord and Miller were 2 people.
Oh.
Yeah. Now Toby Cunningham, remember?
Toby.
He's this. It's just ridiculous. This Ben Affleck stuff. There's really no way that he's gonna be doing Batman for more than another 2 movies anyway. Like there was never.
Yeah.
There's never supposed to be this long-term plan of Batman being Ben Affleck being the Batman of the future. You don't hire someone who is how old is Ben Affleck? Like 46.
Yeah, or
47.
Yeah, they were saying like he'd be close to 50 by the time this next one.
You don't hire someone to be the future Batman of your franchise. You hire them because you're trying to do something specifically in BVS, right? That was the whole thing.
But then, like, I think the original plan was to shoot Justice League back to back, and green light the Batman movie right away. It was supposed to come out, I think, like next summer. And then
that should have been it.
Yeah.
Like, Amanda, you feel like you have something to say?
Oh, I'm just remembering that there's a whole Bat family. So there's a lot of other characters who can be tapped in. Like Nightwing is an obvious one. Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond would be a great one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They could also bring in Batwoman for the first time ever. Mm-hmm. I would love to see Batwoman with this version of Wonder Woman. That'd be kind of fun. So I would not be sad to see Ben Affleck leave if it makes room for another good DC character.
Well, Justice Woman, Wonder Woman, sorry. Justice Woman.
She is Justice Woman. I love Justice Woman.
This woman's going to be basically a Justice Wonder Woman movie. But that movie did so well that there's no chance now they're going to scrap everything, which was a theory that we thought might have happened if that movie didn't do well. So now that did well, this will do enough. They won't embarrass themselves, I imagine. So they can't just start over anymore. But they can, the precedent is there for different Batmen. There's been, in our lifetime, how many have there been now? 5?
Yeah.
So, it's not like it's a new, it would be weird if in Justice League 2, there's a new Batman, but if they just do a new Batman movie and say, hey, this is 10 years earlier, they can easily make sense that it's a different actor.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think Wonder Woman becomes the midpoint, the point you build everything around now. It's framed through the eyes of, or through the franchise of Wonder Woman, and it's really interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, Ben Affleck's 45, and they're talking about possibly. Well, this is the rumor of if they do Flashpoint, that Jeffrey Dean Morgan might end up playing the Batman role in Flashpoint. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan is 51, so I don't think they actually have a Batman of their future tabbed as of right now. If they're talking about a 45-year-old and a 51-year-old playing their Batman in the next future films.
And what's the shame is that even people who didn't like BVS loved him as Batman. It's just that this didn't work out somehow. I don't see.
Yeah. I think he took it too personal. I think that was it. I think he took it. The failure of BVS, he took it too personal, and it shouldn't have been on him.
And he really wanted to write and direct his own thing, and I think they just said, "All right, we got to stop and slow down." And he said, "All right, I got too much else going on. I want to do, And then his other Warner Bros. Movie kind of tanked last year. I forget what it was called. That old time gangster movie he was in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
that tanked. I think he just kind of soured. They both kind of soured on each other.
So chat's saying we're having some technical issues.
I got the word that we're coming in loud and clear for other people.
Okay, cool. All right. So
it sounds like it's just a hint to stop
talking about
Ben Affleck.
I think that's a good segue, co-host, into topic 2. News that Arnold Schwarzenegger has stated that next March he starts filming Terminator 6 with James Cameron.
Sure.
And then right after that, it's going to come a new Conan film. Abe, does any of that sound interesting to you at all?
No, not at all. Terminator Genesis squandered what little goodwill I had left towards this franchise. It needs to be taken out to the back and needs to be shot and forgot about. That's it. Done.
You just Terminator can't trust Cameron.
Yeah, the way he shilled for that last piece of shit movie, you can't. Yeah. No, you're right.
And Cameron still, hasn't fucking told us when Avatar's coming out, and he's got 7 more of those to do or some shit. So when's he squeezing in Terminator?
Never.
He got into a fight last week with Josh Brolin for not coming on to Avatar. And so, if I'm Josh Brolin, I can do 2 superhero movies and not waste my time with Cameron for the next 6 years. That's not a hard choice.
Like who else is tied into Avatar? It's Sigourney, right? She does.
Yeah, Sigourney. The
Zoe Saldana.
Saldana. Yeah.
The guy who was the bad guy. That's what's weird about this movie.
The guy who was the bad guy. Yeah.
So forgettable, this movie, even though it made $2 billion, and no one's still waiting for this. We'll go see it if it comes out, but no one's like beating down his door for this fucking movie to come out. Like, it's pushed back in the year. Like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, I found this news to be so weird.
Next year too.
It's so bizarre.
Wasn't there some video game that was like about to come out forever? Was it? I feel like, man, I'm really embarrassing myself here. Duke Nukem. How long was that in development?
What, like 15 years, something like that? And when it finally came out.
Yeah,
he's gonna, unless he completely recreates the fucking wheel again as far as the visuals of this movie, I don't think anyone's gonna care anymore.
I just don't know where they could go with Terminator that I would really like. After Terminator 2, that was it. Like, I felt that was the necessary ending of the story right there. Like, that's all that was needed. And then
I like the
G3
Bale
came
version.
out, and I was like,
Of the last 3 that came out, I think the Bale version was the best one, and that wasn't good.
No, it was interesting though. You're right. At least it took place in that one particular spot of time that we hadn't seen before.
It just suffered from a bad script, though.
And
it was just a bad story.
And it got taken over by the whole. That was the movie he flipped out on. with the lights.
Oh, that was a good time. That's when I first learned of what memes were. Those were the days. Yeah. So it seems across the board. Amanda, you're interested in seeing a Conan movie or another Terminator movie?
So the Terminator stuff, I think I've seen most of those on television in random order. And I at some point I was just like, these don't make sense anymore. And then I said to myself, this is probably like Catwoman, where even if I sat down and watched them all in order, I don't think that makes them better. But I do have a soft spot in my heart for Conan. And I even saw the Jason Momoa remake, which I was like, he doesn't even hold a sword properly, but I mean, it was fine. It was no Ghostbusters, but I mean, I would. I feel like there's more. I feel like there's still a little more room in the Conan universe to explore. I feel like we've kind of sufficiently ravaged the Terminator universe. But Conan, it was a big world. There could be more characters. There can be more kingdoms. The comics have been going strong for a really long time, so there's a lot of ideas to draw from.
I think I agree with that. Like, there's more to explore in Conan than there is in Terminator.
But do you need him attached to it? I mean,
I would love for him to be like the really old, like
king,
crazy king. Yeah,
I think that's what it's supposed to be. Is like King Conan or something. Yeah.
I would even love to have him be like the MacGuffin, where it's like the new characters have to get to him to deliver something or save him from something or transport him somewhere.
Maybe they could maybe they could find him. Maybe the characters maybe like Finn and Ray can go find him.
I mean, sure. I would happily sit through that and not want to kill myself afterwards like I do for other movies. Yeah, so
that's true.
The Last of the Barbarian, we'll call it, right?
There you go.
Yeah. The Barbarian Awakens.
The Barbarian Rises.
Oh.
Rise of the Barbarian.
Yes. Revenge of the Barbarian.
Dawn of the Barbarian.
Well, as long as the plucky, strong female protagonist is a redhead, that would be great. We haven't had any spicy redheads in science fiction in like a year or two, so get that trope going again now that it's not.
Yeah. Well, we lost Ponyboy. He's having issues with the audio, but he said that he loved the intro. So good job, babe. And that he thought that the WarGames Retro Review is a great show idea. I agree.
It was like 3 days ago, and now it's like the 5th biggest news story of the day.
Which, all right. And
we got more topics.
I got one more topic, and I'm going to request, Marty, that you just let me do my spiel here.
You brought it up.
No, just let me do my topics. Don't chime in. Let me do my spiel first, and then I will give the floor over to you, okay? Because this is topic 3. And I'm going to preface this by saying, and Abe and I have gone over this many times before, we are not a political show, right? We sometimes our political leanings come out on the show. And when we talked about having a movies and stuff show, it's a dumb, fun entertainment show. That is what we've always aimed to do, heavy on the dumb, right? But it's tough not to say something when so much shitty stuff is going on. And this episode that we're talking about, WarGames, came about because of the stupidity of nuclear war. And the fact that this is still an issue nowadays, and it's an issue that is prevalent and important to the world right now. And it's a couple weeks ago, this was a great show topic idea. It's like, wow, everyone's talking about nuclear war, and then it's to pun intended, to trump ourselves, if you will. We have this stuff that happened the past weekend where we saw a bunch of racists blatantly marching through a town in Virginia, killed a protester, and this is where we're at right now. And to tie this all back together, the fact that we are an entertainment show, and I don't want this to be like a political ranty type thing right now. I want to tie this into some kind of topic that we can relate to as an entertainment show. So I'm going to ask all of you to just kind of think about this. If you had to describe this year using some movies as a reference point. And I know that Idiocracy would probably be the easiest one to choose here, but let's try to be a little bit more creative here. If we had to think of some movies that really describe the year that we've seen so far, what would they be? And Marty, I'll give the floor to you because I know we were discussing this previously.
I mean, it's funny you said this topic was good a couple weeks ago. It was good 4 days ago. It was even today, North Korea, they came out and said, "All right, let's just calm down." I'll talk about the one. There's a couple of things we talked about earlier, but I'll talk about the one I actually watched this weekend, which is on Netflix now, The Founder, which is a movie that came out last year at this time, and I think a lot of people didn't see it for whatever reason. It came out at a weird time. It's the Michael Keaton movie about the McDonald's, how he kind of the guy who stole McDonald's from the two brothers, and it's kind of the fun story of that. In the real world, being a shithead is not a punishable offense. You get ahead when you're an asshole, and you take advantage of people, and you take advantage of people who don't know as much or don't have as much money as you, and you can thrive and succeed. And that's the story of The Founder, basically. This Michael Keaton's character is a back in the 50s. Is a kind of traveling salesman. It's kind of it's a fun little look back at that culture, actually, when you first start the movie, and he's selling milkshakes machines, and he stumbles upon McDonald's, this little burger joint out in California, and meets the two brothers who run this store, and he just basically, it starts off, I guess, with good intentions. It's hard to tell, but he just takes their idea, convinces them to build a franchise out of it, and slowly but surely steals their into intellectual property, and becomes a fucking billionaire off it. And just shits, and it's all through, actually, oddly enough, considering what our president has done to gain his fortune, is all based on real estate. He made a deal in the movie with the brothers to, kind of license McDonald's everywhere, but they always had control over the store. And what he figured out how to do was buy the land that McDonald's would be franchised on. So he controlled the store through that, and eventually he just became so big that the brothers couldn't control him anymore and couldn't control what he was doing. So he bought them out for $1.5 million and promised them a 1% deal, all for future earnings. And then he didn't hold up to that deal. So he bought McDonald's for $2.5 million in 1950, whatever. I think it worked out to 50-something million now. So, and I think that it was just, as I was watching it was just a funny way of watching it. And it's Michael Keaton. I don't know why he didn't get an Oscar nomination for this. He got an Oscar nomination the last
because 2
years.
Probably why.
But he was equally, if not better, in this than he had been in some other movies. And just by the fact that Michael Keaton is a beloved kind of actor at this point, and you hate him at the end of this movie. Literally just hate it. He fucked over left his wife. He stole he sold a franchise to a guy and stole his wife, basically hit on her in front of him, which our president tends to do. And stole his wife, and just became this complete shitheel at the end of the movie, and you hated him. And it's Michael Keaton. Usually, he has that all shucks thing about him sometimes. But yeah, as I was watching it, I was like, wow, the assholes win. It's really, and he didn't do anything illegal technically to do any of it. It was just all kind of shady, sideways shit, and that's all Trump really does. I mean, he's done everything he's done is probably legal technically, but it's all just shady asshole shit. And that's how he got ahead, and that's how this guy got ahead. And it was just the founder, the president. It's all kind of the same thing.
Abe, is your pick still Field of Dreams?
No, I was going to go with Field of Dreams because the biggest assassination attempt this year occurred on a baseball field. But actually, I'm going to go with, I think the movie that best describes what's going on in America is Fistful of Dollars. I think the normal American is basically the man with no name. We're riding into town, and we've got Antifa on one side and racists on the other, the two cancers that are ripping America apart, and they're just destroying this town. And the normal Americans who just want to just live and just have a happy existence. That's how I think that Fistful of Dollars describes our current year so far.
Abe bringing balance to the force.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, seriously though, guys, for real talk here. If you're rah-rah one team or rah-rah the other, and you don't just have a critical view of both sides, you're fucked. Like, really.
No, I think the legitimate issue facing us these days is just how much we don't like each other anymore.
I agree with that. Hyper politicization about everything. And, I hate to go all tinfoil hat here, but the idea that there's one side and our side's right and the other side's wrong, that's exactly what, the people with money would love to see us do. Just dance around, and just piss into the wind.
I want to hear Amanda's take on it as well, but my quick statement about all of this is I don't think anything has actually changed at all in the last 60 years. The fact is, all it is now we have social media. We have a lot more exposure to things. We have a lot more visibility. We have a lot more communication with people. We're seeing it more. It's more in our faces, but I don't think anything's actually changed in the last 60 years or so. I think these feelings, this hatred, everything, nothing has changed. It's all been the same. Now we just see it a lot more. It's a lot more in our faces and readily accessible via the internet or whatever. So that's kind of my feeling about it. Amanda, what do you think?
So I think I know what Abe was trying to say, so I'm going to give him a break.
If our friend from Boston had said it, though, you would have hit on him.
No, you can come at me. I don't care. You don't have to give me a break.
No,
we'll take down the list if you want to. Which president has actually kept his campaign promises and stuck to what they were going to do? None of them. It's always just moving to bigger and bigger government and less civil rights for us. Every single president. I don't see a difference between the two sides at all.
Trump hasn't stuck to doing anything he said he'd do, but he's stuck to who he is. He's a shithead.
Yeah, well.
And shitheads say shithead things.
Right. Yeah.
I was not surprised by anything he said today.
8 years ago, we elected a constitutional lawyer to help us get our rights back, and he continued the path of the previous president in stripping us of our rights.
Oh yeah. Once you get into that
changes.
Office.
Yeah, nothing ever changes, people. Yeah.
So Amanda,
you wanted to go political.
No.
I don't want to go political.
I think I actually said I'll go political later.
No, not you. I meant those two knuckleheads.
So I didn't have a chance to brainstorm ahead of time like you guys did. So I wrote down a few things. A few obvious ones. You said Michael Keaton. That actually reminded me of, was it Birdman?
Yeah.
Which was a surrealist meta thing where everyone's kind of an asshole.
And there's a lot about Twitter and Facebook in that one too. So that was interesting. Yeah.
The next thing I thought of was Team America. But I feel like that's a little obvious. Like
that was like the beginning.
One.
That was the beginning of North Korea stuff. Actually, it was like we were still joking about it. Kind of.
Yeah. Essentially, Team America shouldn't make sense to anyone anymore, and it shouldn't. Like, it should feel very dated. It shouldn't feel like they made it right now. Something else I wrote down was this is technically not a movie, but it should have been the Yesterday's Enterprise episode of Star Trek TNG, where suddenly they've slipped into an alternate reality where they've been at war with the Klingons the whole time, and everything's like a horrible dystopian version. And then there's just one character sitting there going like, hey, didn't you guys notice that this doesn't feel right? So that's kind of what I came up with off the top of my head. It kind of, I've been saying that's why I've been watching Sliders so much, is it kind of feels like something in the world just switched suddenly, and maybe it's my fault for not having paid attention earlier, but it feels like there was a sudden change, and I'm kind of confused about when it happened or why or how I change it back.
You're the Guinan.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have a love for funny hats, which
there you go.
That
she rules with the funny hats.
She does. It's really So great topic, guys.
Dan, you didn't say one.
I don't think I need to say one.
Is that the privilege of the full host?
Yeah,
the full host gets to decide.
And you get to yell at me a lot.
Honestly, I think our main topic, war games, is really
it still worked. Yeah.
No, I think it really works for describing what's going on in many levels, right? Which we'll get into, but right now, in fact, we'll start talking about some war game stuff. I think one of the things that I love most about this movie, and I love this movie. I really, really enjoyed it when I saw it when I was younger, and rewatching it now, it's not overly preachy. And I love that. It packs a wallop of a message without being overly preachy. And the point at, spoilers, I guess, the point at the end of there is no winner in this game. And I think that is if I had to pick my kind of thesis topic of how this year is going, there is no winner right now. Nobody is going to win this game. There's going to be a whole lot of losers by the end of this. You can't say anyone's going to, even the people that are, even Trump and his people that are going to walk away with millions and millions of money. There's something that they've lost as well, and possibly some of them end up in jail. So I can't see winners happening in what's going on right now. And I think that's one of the great messages of war games. I think, it's a fun movie, great soundtrack, and it kind of tapped into that Tron video game culture of the early 80s. Really liked Matthew Broderick in it. Really cool cameo by a very young Michael Madsen. I don't know if you noticed that one.
Yeah, and what's his name from The West Wing? John Spence.
Yep.
Turn your key, sir. Great beginning. Just
fantastic
start to the movie. Yeah.
So tense. It's a very tense film. As corny as it gets at times.
It's tense, really but not tense. Overly dramatic about it.
Right. It's a good thriller.
It's an odd way.
Let's go around the room. Amanda, let's start with you. What are your overall thoughts about war games?
I really loved it. I'm surprised that I haven't seen it before. Oh. And I'm also surprised that that of the Brat Pack movies from the 80s, that this one isn't more well known. Why is Ferris Bueller the Broderick movie that everybody knows? I feel like it should be this one. This one is much more rewatchable. Maybe not as quotable, but you really shouldn't make a movie by drawing quotes out of a hat and building a plot around them. So, yeah, I'm surprised.
He's not much different either in this from his Ferris Bueller role. A little more dramatic, but he's kind of the same kid. Just he knows computers more in this one.
Maybe he transferred schools and gave up computers. Maybe it's the same guy. Witness relocation program after war games.
Chicago, from Seattle to Chicago. Yeah.
Well, he was going to fly out of O'Hare to get to Paris.
That's what kind of threw me. I was like, "Are they in Chicago?" I was like, "I didn't get it yet at that point." You both kind of still had the same kind of aloof parents.
Mm-hmm.
Marty, had you seen this before?
I had not actually.
Really?
When I turned it on, I hadn't heard about it. Then I turned it on. I was like, "Yeah, I haven't seen this." And it does, even though it's 1983, it doesn't feel that dated. I mean, of course, computer stuff is dated, of course, but it's not. It's still kind of funny to watch it. The big floppy disk. It's like the size of a notebook. His acting, I think, is kind of funny at times. It's kind of he gets a little even when he tries to be too dramatic. It just kind of I don't know if this is one of his first movies. It must have been.
It was his first.
Was it his first? Yeah. So I mean, that's amazing. But there were times that he's trying to, even when he's on screen and someone else is talking, he doesn't know what to do with his hands. If you watch him, sometimes he's kind of he's going like this. I like the premise is really fun. It's nuclear war, but not treated jokingly, but kind of not not over the top dramatic. I mean, you can remake this movie right now, script point for point, and just change the technology. And I think you'd be fine.
Tried, but nobody liked the Ender's Game movie.
Let's rewind there. No one saw the Ender's Game.
I saw it. Shush. I saw it.
Abe, what about you?
Oh man, I love this movie. This is, in my mind, this is a fantastic movie. I think it works really, really well as a thriller, like you said, Dan. And it doesn't push it too far. It works. It just naturally unfolds and just keeps ratcheting it up. But I think the most interesting thing is just how it's just this very genuine relationship between these two characters, Ali Sheedy and Matthew Broderick. They might be becoming one of my favorite movie couples of all time now, these two.
Pretty good. Pretty good, man.
They just work so well. I think it's so hard to do teens correctly, and they just seem to do it effortlessly. I can't say that effortlessly.
Effortlessly, yeah.
both still working, too. God bless them.
Yeah. Ali's too busy to ever have come on our show and talk about this movie.
Oh, yeah, we did try to reach out to her once, didn't we?
Yes, I did. Years ago.
Yeah.
And as far as quotes from the movie, all right, Lightman, maybe you could tell us who first suggested the idea of reproduction without sex.
Your wife.
That was such, I know, back, when you made movies back then, teachers had to be kind of these stick in the mud, go to the principal's office. Like, how do you not laugh at that line?
That was a good line.
Go fuck yourself, kid. Come on. But that's where it's he was still kind of the Ferris Bueller character, where he was just kind of a smart ass, cheating his way through a school kid. I don't know how you could change your grade. I mean, you just change your grades, and it could be wouldn't the teacher still know you failed that class? He would it all starts because he can break into the school's computer and change his grades around, and no one picks up on that. So he just kind of it's interesting how the computer stuff worked at the time, well, the phone, I guess, and it was just kind of this weird kind of options you had. Oh, I'll just try putting in passwords, see if I could break into the NORAD computer.
It's not very inaccurate about that. The computers at the time. Yeah, I mean,
I would have liked more time with the two guys. They don't really see where he goes, but I get it's some kind of company or college maybe.
Oh yeah, the two the one that has kind of Asperger's or
Oh, Malvin. Malvin.
Yeah,
the other guy.
The guy who teaches them about the back doors, I guess.
Mr. Potato Head. Mr. Potato Head.
A fun little duo.
They are a lot of fun.
I also love it's NORAD, it's the FBI, it's the everything. He gets arrested for breaking into the NORAD computer and almost setting off World War III. And not once but twice they leave him in a room alone. So one, almost do the computer thing again, and then two, just kind of break out and leave.
The interesting part about the NORAD stuff, I thought, it's the general who seems to be a little bit more of a humanitarian, and the scientist is a right dickhead in this movie.
It's not that he's a humanitarian, but it's just he's the classic soldier that doesn't want control taken away from him.
Oh, I don't know. He sympathized with people a little bit more than the scientist did. Remember, the scientist said, "Don't give me that head shrinker horse shit or whatever."
Yeah,
about the people launching the missiles. It's wow.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because that would have been flip flopped in a modern movie.
And I love the character of Falcon, and they bring him in, they make it seem like he's dead, and then they bring him in towards the end, and I think really cool character, right? In short amount of time, they built a lot of character, and they did a good job of building his character up by just looking at microfiche, microfilm videos of you kind of, once you met him, you already knew this character. He was already fully developed by the time you met him, and the interactions with Matthew Broderick and the computer, Joshua, that further helped develop this Stephen Falcon character. So when he's doing that whole spiel about tic-tac-toe, and it's do you play tic-tac-toe anymore? And it's no, it's boring. And he says something along the lines of exactly, and that's the point, is that the people in the war room actually think you can win a nuclear war, and that there's a certain amount of acceptable losses, and that right there was just fuck, nailed it, So when you get to the end where they're forcing Joshua to basically play out nuclear war against himself. And I think his exact line was something along the lines of, What a strange game. You know,
well, he had a great line when they were at his house and trying to convince him to make the call to fix everything because the computer was going to destroy the world and he had to make a call to stop it. And his line was, "Humanity, will have its own demise. Will plan its own demise that a phone call can't stop." Which kind of like, even if he called, basically, if I call and stop this, it'll happen again.
Yeah.
Which brought me back to why this movie still works today. Because they stopped this thing, and this was 1983, and even the Cold War still went on for 5 more years, and even though the Cold War ended, we're still fighting Russia, we still have nuclear capabilities, that can bring fire and fury to whatever the fuck, what else he said after watching Game of Thrones that week, and we're still worrying about Guam getting blown up for no reason. And it was just this perfect saying that's like, all right, so I'll call today and stop it. Then what? They're still going to have all these nukes. They're still going to point them at each other. And, what are we really stopping here?
I'm going to tell you a genuine conversation that I had right before I got on the show with my wife. We were literally talking about how we would turn our basement into a bunker for in case of a nuclear war. And and it wasn't like a super serious, like, oh, we have to go out and get these supplies. It was kind of like, she was reading like the FEMA website about it, of how to, create a nuclear fallout shelter. But it kind of turned real to the fact is like, oh yeah, well, we could just, do this part of our basement and do this. And it was like, I left and I was like, well, that was depressing, that we're still having these conversations. Or,
even like the scariest, saddest way was like, he's like, oh, no worry, I planned it so that we're in the kill zone, so we won't have to worry about it. We won't suffer.
You'll see a bright light and we'll be vaporized, and that's it.
My big question off that is, and I had never heard this before. He thought the bees would be the next dominant species. Is that a theory postulated? I have never heard that.
Yeah, I've never heard that either.
Have you heard that before?
I haven't. I wouldn't be surprised that someone would speculate that some sort of like collective consciousness like that would. I don't mean consciousness, but like a bee is a colony, not just like one insect. And they already, I think like insects outweigh humans. I think I've heard that before. If you somehow put all the insects in the world on a scale, they would be more than humans. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know. I would go with something, if I was speculating, something more interesting and already smart, like octopus.
It was just an odd throwaway line.
I thought bees don't seem very robust.
Okay,
and
now like in today, where it's like the bee, like you hear stories about how the bees are dying, and that's gonna fuck us up.
But that goes back to like I think it was an Einstein theory of basically saying along the lines of if all the bees died, then the human species would no longer exist. So I wonder if it was kind of a throwback or someone a callback to that. We're basically saying it's like, well, if all the humans die, at least the bees will take over the earth. The bees will survive, and
that's plausible.
Maybe that was it. But yeah, looking back at like Ali Sheedy's performance is just like, it's like, man, she was really good in this movie. And then you think of like The Breakfast Club. It's like the caster is that character.
She was the best of that crew, probably back then, at least. Like she wasn't even. This is probably one of her first movies as well, and she was pretty good.
More so than Amelia.
She outacted. Broderick.
Better than Amelia. I mean, Amelia and Charlie Sheen and Men at Work. Come on, nothing gets better than that. Emilio and Young Guns 2. I mean, come on.
I feel like you're just making these up now.
I like Men at Work.
These are all movies that existed with Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen. But no, I was, I forgot that Ali Sheedy was in it until I rewatched it. I'm like, oh, that was her?
There's a lot of classic 80s actors in this thing.
Like a lot of just character actors and just like, great people like Dabney Coleman. Dabney Coleman, he played McKittrick. And he was a big popular 80s guy. But yeah, the Michael Madsen thing was great though. And I was like, is that Mr. Blonde? He looks young.
They didn't come back to those guys. I thought they should. That would have been fun.
At one point, they did. You can see Michael Madsen he's packing up his stuff and he's like all pissed off.
Yeah, they saw him leaving.
And that was it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying, Marty. That opening was really good, and then
that's the famous "turn your key, sir." That's right. Still
and that movie was in the back of Joss Whedon's mind when they wrote Cabin in the Woods, right? I mean,
that was like the first thing. Okay. I had no idea what this movie was going to be going into, and I saw this, and I was like, "Oh, cool! That's like a thing he was alluding to. I got it." And then the credits started with that font, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is great."
So I got to say something again. This is the second week that this has happened on back-to-back episodes.
5 and 5. I just saw it as well.
It's 6 and 5. But at one point we were up 6-0, 6 likes to 0 dislikes. It is now 6 likes to 5 dislikes. We have 5 dislikes, people. Like out of nowhere.
I don't think they're out of nowhere. If I could dislike Abe 5 times in a row, I would.
Do it.
But here we are.
It's not technically possible. I don't have that many puppet accounts.
This is ridiculous, though. During our whole political spiel, no one downvoted us.
Well, they could be watching.
We start talking about WarGames.
I don't even get it because we only have 8 people watching, and I'm one of them, and I didn't vote.
You should upvote us now, Marty, real quick.
I mean, it's getting depressing.
Give us an upvote. Gotta make it a little bit better. Yeah. Thanks a lot, people. Yeah, I keep saying it every week, and it's my way of not feeling horrible about myself. Is downvotes count the same as upvotes during?
I like the reaction. I would like people to say why they're downvoting, but they never do though.
Because they're cowards. They can't face us. They don't want their words to be showing on our screen.
It was the Russian hackers. Everybody, come on, we all know that.
Well, maybe we should go back to talking about how beautiful Ali Sheedy is, and she kind of very young like this. I kind of said, "Oh hey, is that how they cast Emma Watson? Were they looking for a little girl who was going to grow up to look like her?" I got a total. I was like, "Oh wow," but yeah, and I think I even wrote down there was one specific outfit, her jogging outfit with the red shirt. I was like, hello, this is I would wear that right now.
They did a lot of her exercising or kind of subtle shots in there. She was going to be on TV next week in a gymnastics thing or something.
Yeah. Movie star. That was actually a very cool moment between again.
That was pretty bad. That was bad.
No.
I thought that was adorable.
He's like, I was gonna learn to swim next week. I was like, all right, come on.
Oh, I like that too.
I thought that was cool. I thought what else are you gonna say? The world's about to end.
To being awkward, Marty. Some of us aren't just smooth operators who always know what to say.
I like when the two got after they fixed the computer the first time, then they realized it's still going. And the one general goes, the other guy's like, he kind of gives like, you know what, your computer fucking sucks, bro. And the other guy's like, don't give that shit.
I go back to talking about the realism, if you will, about Matthew Broderick's character. There was never a time where I felt like what he was doing was too far-fetched. Like you watch some of these movies now with the techie or the TV shows where the guys are like super techie and geeky. There's nothing that Matthew Broderick kind of did in this movie that even when he was he took the scissors and reprogrammed the door. Like I kind of felt like, you know what? I still find it believable.
That was MacGyver-esque.
This is Linux. I know this.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck. No, but yeah, I mean, you're right. Those old machines were based on sound, on just tones, and that's all they do is just pump a tone back into a door. Very plausible, very simple. Yeah. And it's impressive that I love it when movies can convey stuff to you like that without explaining it to you. We understood exactly what he was doing without them explaining to us. And look at us 30 years later. They have to explain everything to us in every shot. It's almost like they weren't talking down to the audience in 1983.
Yeah, even when he was explaining the computer stuff to her, he's like, "Yeah, I just type in this thing and it does all the numbers." Like, all right.
Well, so that's an interesting point, Abe. Who was the demographic for this movie when it came out? Was this a movie for teenagers or was it a movie for adults?
That's a good question.
Was it PG-13? What was
PG-13 didn't exist quite yet.
No,
this is PG.
Yeah.
Well, this is PG.
This movie also this just wouldn't have been made now.
No.
Because who is it for and what is it rated?
It was, this was kind of geared towards teenagers, but I think it also it made a lot of money. So adults did go see this movie. I think the concept of nuclear war, and I mean, if we could do a ranking list of some of the best kind of potential nuclear war films, I'll put Dr. Strangelove at the absolute top of it. But this is right. This is right in there, and I think it really played on a lot of the fears of adults at that time. I'm looking at the budget was $12 million and it made $80 million.
Wow,
that's in '83. That's huge.
That's great.
That is a blockbuster.
Yeah.
I'm surprised after that there was no. I guess back then they could just let a movie sit and be good. Was there a sequel? Okay.
I saw it online when I was looking, and I said, I feel like I should watch this and get extra credit points on the show tomorrow, but I didn't.
Should have.
I tried to watch some of it.
Dead Code.
It's if you actually go to Vudu, it's free with commercials. The WarGames sequel. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I got through about 20 minutes of it, and I pulled the plug.
Well, it's good to know that some things haven't changed.
Yeah, geez, this looks terrible.
It was not good.
I love how I know you're looking at your computer screen, but it also kind of looks like you're looking out of the screen at whoever our viewers are, and you're just like, this is terrible.
This is terrible. Well, we know at least 5 of our viewers are terrible, downvoting us.
Sons of bitches.
All right. Okay. So let's start wrapping up. Let's do some final thoughts on WarGames. Amanda.
I was really happy to watch this. I would be really happy to watch this again at some point. It was great. We didn't talk about the name of the computer, that it was the Whopper.
Whopper. Yes.
Just stuff like that where it was little details were great. It seems like people who were good at their jobs enjoyed making this, and you can tell. So I'm very happy about that part.
Great point.
I think that's pretty much all I can add. And I have a crush on a new crush on Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy.
And young Ali Sheedy. Yeah. Marty.
I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it still holds up to today's world, and not so much technology, but it's not so much that it's like silly. It's still standard stuff. It's on Cinemax right now. If you want to watch it, if you have that, maybe. Me and Dan didn't. We found that out. It's also I rented it off of Google Play, or you can rent it off YouTube for like $3. So it's worth.
I got an iTunes.
Yeah, it's worth taking a look at if you haven't seen it. If it's still, like I said, it's well acted. It's funny at points. It's dramatic at points. It was a fun watch. I can't lie.
Abe.
Yeah, I'm just echoing what Marty and Amanda said. Yeah, I love the 2 characters in this. I loved how natural they felt and how much fun they had. Like, they actually enjoyed each other's company. And, of course, shit hits the fan. They're not happy. And I was really fascinated that Lightman's mom thought corn had any nutritional value whatsoever.
That was great. I love it. Can we just take pills and cook it? No, it never went through with the romantic thing with the kids.
They kissed.
They
kissed.
Yeah.
They're teenagers, man. What do you want?
They were teenagers alone in the bedroom for a long time. I don't know why he didn't put the computer away and have at it for at least at one point.
Because this is a PG movie.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Allie's a classy girl. She would at least want a date or 2.
You went over there all sweaty.
Yeah.
He was
It was 1983. I mean,
he kid had a lock on his door. Parents were just fine with it. Missing opportunity there.
But that's realistic. I mean, how many opportunities? Like that's the thing that teenagers do. Is in retrospect, you go, "Oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I should have done. I didn't notice. I didn't believe she really liked me." You know, that's like they weren't like real teenagers. They weren't brave enough to just make a move, so they had to just be there the whole time.
And again, realistic of why she came to visit him.
Right.
I mean, it was all.
She put that jogging outfit with the red shirt together. I promise you, we didn't see the scene, but she spent 20 minutes checking to make sure that it was the right shirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. And, I was really fascinated. I can't remember the town now, but any group from like Missoula, Montana can get a tour of the super secret NORAD.
I thought it was Binghamton.
It might be. I don't remember. I don't remember the city.
It's like, it's fucking tourists here again.
I just imagine the Russian premiere from Strangelove just in that little group tour.
No way, taking
pictures. All right, this is awesome. Thanks for the people in the chat. I didn't see a lot of our regulars, but Robert Malo's there. Kelly.
Throw out a last news item on a sad note. I don't know if any of you guys saw that John Hurd, the father from Home Alone and a bunch of other things, died today.
Oh, yeah.
That's too bad.
That happens.
71.
Ric Flair did not die yet.
He's holding on.
Holding on.
Woo! We got to go woo after that, right? Yeah, woo. Woo. There you go. Nature boy.
So yeah, make sure to like this video, please.
or dislike it, whatever,
But
make sure to react.
Yeah, whether you like it, dislike it, comment and say that it sucked, whatever. No matter what you do, subscribe to us, because you can always come back next week and like us or dislike us or say that we suck next week as well. Because we will be back next week live, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have a brand new show.
Robert's question before we go?
What is Robert's question?
That's how would it be different if it was made today?
How would the movie be different if it was made today? It would suck.
It'd be a lot more serious.
It would be a lot more typing quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
You change windows by typing, just really fast. And then extraordinary rendition. David ends up in some fucking, who knows, black prison. Or
they wouldn't have done it where it was an accident. They would have done it where some guy did it on purpose and then, something like that.
I think they could redo this movie today, pretty much beat for beat. The technology, of course, would be different. There'd be a couple of things they'd have to change because, payphones, cell phones, all that shit. They could do it. I just don't think they could do it right, because there's just a great spirit to this movie and a great. Amanda said it. There's people that really seem to enjoy making this movie, and I don't think you'd get that today. I think you'd get a bunch of shit.
Thrillers are a dying. Just real quick, thrillers are a dying genre. I was talking about this with Stefan today. Thrillers are dying. I don't know why. Maybe because you can't make a $200 million star-studded, non-offensive thriller anymore. I don't know, but they're dying.
Hey man, even Michael Mann can't make a good thriller anymore. What was his? It was Black Hat or whatever. That was the one that came out a few years ago.
Just bombed. Yeah,
just terrible. If he can't make a good thriller, then that's saying something, right?
It's supposed to be a good one out right now. I'm trying to look at. I forgot what.
He can't make a good Miami Vice movie, so who knows?
Give me 1 second.
This is always the best part of the show. We get to watch Marty Google.
Watch Marty type things.
Slow on my very end. Well, Marty's doing that.
Wind River is out now. It's with Elizabeth Olsen and her Avengers co-star, Renner. And it's supposed to be a really fun thriller. I haven't seen it. It's very limited.
It's not the Avengers co-star I was hoping for, but that's okay.
No, it's the one they can get for this price. But yeah, I've actually heard good things about that. It's supposed to be a action crime thriller mystery.
Yeah, cool. May have to check it out sometime.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a good thriller. And there's no real good movies out the next month or so.
Not until Mother. Mother comes out mid-September.
Yeah.
And even then.
Also, 9/11 with on the week before 9/11, there's a 9/11 movie coming out with Nicolas Cage. I think
when they're all stuck in the elevator.
Stuck in the elevator.
Yeah, I saw the first part of Speed.
But now with 9/11.
Yeah, now with more 9/11. Yes.
And Nick Cage, right?
We might have to watch it.
Did you guys see the one where Nicolas Cage was the crazy guy hunting down Osama bin Laden?
No.
Wait, is there a bad direct-to-video movie featuring Nick Cage that I've watched that you guys haven't?
Apparently
I think so.
Homework.
Next episode. You're coming back on, Amanda. Co-hosting.
Guest co-hosting.
Guest co-host.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Nicolas Cage. It's better. It's Charlie Sheen.
I did know about that one. I did know about that Charlie Sheen one. I did. I saw the poster for it. Yes.
Gina Gershon.
It's supposed to be Charlie Sheen's big comeback.
At 9/11. If that doesn't get you to the theater, cocaine will.
All right. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Movie Stuff Show. As mentioned, next Tuesday, live 9 p.m. Eastern, back with a brand new episode. Please like, subscribe, check out all the videos that Marty's putting over our faces at this time. Amanda.
The right way.
Hi.
Yeah, it's.
Did it wrong.
Thank you again for guest co-hosting this week.
No problem, senior co-host. See, I can give you promotions too.
Dan is no one's co-host. Dan is senior host.
Senior host at this point. I hope so. Later, everyone.
Bye.